Our next guest's work focuses on eye tracking. It's a hard shift for me. Let me just make an emotional shift here, and combines webcams and user interactions for real-time gaze prediction. Her software can be used everywhere from gaming and medical science to entertainment and health, as eye control can be used instead of a mouse or other devices. This could open the door to help those with motor impairments or ALS with limited access to navigate through browsers. To demonstrate the technology and its exciting future potential, please welcome Dr. Alexandra Paputsaki.
Hello, everyone. So eye tracking is a technique which allows us to infer the gaze of an individual in real time. If the eyes are the window to the soul, then you could say that eye tracking offers the best view in the human behavior. Over the past decades, scientific developments and technological advancements have brought eye tracking to many disciplines, including the medical community. For example, we know that individuals with chronic mental illnesses, such as post-traumatic stress disorders, exhibit different gaze patterns than individuals who have never suffered from the same psychopathology. And despite this huge potential of eye tracking, its use is still very limited. First of all, eye tracking devices cost tens of thousands of dollars. Therefore, many research facilities cannot afford them. Secondly, and despite the cost, even those that can afford them, they actually run into the problem of not being able to run eye tracking studies that are scalable to many participants. Taking these factors into account, our research team, which consists of computer scientists at Brown University and Pomona College, came together to devise a free, scalable solution that can be added to any website with just 2 lines of code. So today I will show you WebGazer, which is a software-based solution, and it turns pretty much every laptop, any device that has a webcam, into an eye tracker. So imagine that we have a behavioral scientist that wants to create a study and see the gaze patterns of patients with a certain psychopathology. What they would have to do currently is they would have, if they're lucky enough to have an eye tracker, they would have to recruit their patients, the control group, have to make individual appointments with each one of them, bring them to their lab, and then go through a very laborious process in order to get the data that they need. So instead, what we suggest is that instead of bringing patients to the lab and having to use expensive equipment, you could use WebGazer. You could use webcam eye tracking and create a study online, send a link pretty much to your patients, including WebGazer, and then get the eye tracking data that you would need. So today I will show you how we could do that. For this demonstration, I have the following scenario. Let's assume that I'm a behavioral scientist, and I want to study young adults who have clinical depression. So I want to see if they exhibit any attentional bias when I show them happy, sad, angry, or neutral stimuli. And for this reason, I have recruited one of my students, Ethan. I have created a website that has my study with different images, and I have sent him a link to his email. So if we could see the video, I'll show you how it actually works. So Ethan here opens the link to my study. As a typical participant, he doesn't read very carefully my consent form, so he agrees immediately. And as a first step, we see his face. So we use the webcam to find the face. And you can see that we do that actually pretty well. This is just a webcam on his laptop while he's sitting at his home. It's quite robust to movement and to different facial expressions. So now we're ready to map this appearance of his eyes to the screen. So this is called the calibration process. So we do it in the following way. We ask Ethan pretty much to click around the screen on those red circles. What you see there as a red jumpy dot is the real-time gaze prediction as being given by WebGazer. So think about it. You look where you click, right? So what you see already is that WebGazer closely follows his gaze. So it just took us 9 clicks, and now we have a pretty good coverage of his whole screen. And now we will proceed with the main part of the study. So I have created for him 4 sets of images. You can see that each set consists of a sad, a happy, angry face, and a neutral image. What we don't see in the background is that WebGazer keeps working and continuously predicts and stores the gaze predictions. So at the end of the study, I will have available all those gaze data, and I will be able to analyze them. He doesn't know what's happening in the background. Of course, he has consented to that. But pretty much at the end of it, I have all the power that I need. So this is the end of it. If we could switch now to, well, pretty much in a moment. If we could switch to my computer, I'll show you what I could do here. So I could visualize the data that I have. So I could create static heat maps. And immediately, I can see that, wait a minute, he's mostly looking at sad faces, or he's mostly looking at angry faces. So for each one of those sets of images, immediately we see the different gaze behavior. We could also choose to replay the experiment. So we could see what happens throughout the study. So what this technique allows us to do is that it allows us to see what stimulus was the first one to draw his attention and where he was eventually fixating. So he might have been drawn originally from a happy face, but eventually he's always ending up looking at sad faces. And this is a phenomenon that has been observed with patients, for example, that have clinical depression. So this is the last slide, and we see again, happy face initially, angry, sad faces mostly. So this was very simple, right? I just sent him a link, WebGazer was in the background, I got all the data that I needed. Of course, this is the rosy picture, and it doesn't work always like that. We're not at a point that webcam eye tracking can compete directly with commercial eye trackers. We're talking about devices that cost $50,000 to $100,000. And right now, we're doing it for free with a webcam. So obviously, it will take us some time to go there. We know that we have a lot of ground to cover, but we have brilliant people. And the good thing behind this solution is that it's open source. That means that anyone around the world can contribute. And we have dozens of developers that help us improve the quality of the code. So we know, for example, that obviously we have to do a better job with the gaze prediction, but we also know that we could do better on the facial detection. For example, individuals with darker skin color or beards or like glasses, they're hard to track. So right now our attention is on, first of all, making a good job in finding their face and eventually making an even better job when we're predicting the gaze. Of course, this is just one demonstration of what you could do. Imagine all the different studies that you could do now remotely for free and at a large scale, right? Another scenario that you could think about webcam eye tracking helping the medical community is the following. So we know that when we have medical images, expert doctors and novice doctors look at them differently. Obviously, expert doctors are much faster to reach the conclusion and do the diagnosis. So we could devise eye tracking studies where now the participant is not a patient, but it's actually an expert doctor. And we could combine those with the diagnosis, let's say, on a brain scan, and we could create databases for medical students and make those available. So overall, the goal behind the work that we're doing with my research team is in democratizing eye tracking. Our goal is to bring eye tracking and make it available to every researcher that wants to study human behavior. This research is supported by NSF and grants at Brown University and Pomona College, and there is a website at the bottom. Feel free to visit it. It has instructions on how you can put WebGazer on any website, and it even has the demo that I showed you. You can go through it. Thank you very much for your attention. It's great being here.